Can I just broaden out the conversation a bit, because all currencies are really on a dollar standard as such, and if the dollar is in trouble, then actually what the ECB is doing is a bit of a sideshow in a sense, because one way or the other they will always want the euro to be competitive, so if the dollar goes down, the euro will be managed down with it. So the race to the bottom, I think it's been described as. How do you see the outlook for the dollar, given that there has been massive monetary expansion, and given that interest rates are suppressed at well below the rate of inflation, whatever that may be? How do you see the dollar developing over the next year or so?
Yeah, will probably continue to fall in value. I mean, they have expanded the dollar supply to finance the deficits, and I don't see that government deficits in the US will fall, especially before the election. They will probably still increase, and they are so huge, the deficits, that drastic measures would be necessary. And well, only if deficits are really reduced, then the dollar could gain in value. But I don't see that coming.
One thing that the Federal Reserve Board has stated is that they intend to keep interest rates down at current levels until the middle of 2013. Do you see that as a possibility, given that inflation is running at, well, I think according to the CPI, something around about 4%. If you look at John Williams' shadow stats, he's talking about 10%. With inflation so much above the level of interest, we're coming into the winter when there's going to be greater demand for energy, and therefore oil prices are likely to come under upward pressure just purely from the demand side rather than the extra production of money side, as it were. Do you see them being able to keep interest rates down throughout 2012 against this background?
It's hard to say. Are you talking about official inflation rates, or what really is happening on the street? Because here, what they measure, like 3% inflation in Europe, this is not what I am experiencing, for example. One difference between the Fed and the ECB is, which makes me less bullish on the dollar, is that we have there, on the direction of the Fed, we have Ben Bernanke, who will do anything to prevent prices from falling. And we're just printing money. He thinks any problem can be solved by printing money, and I think the leadership of the ECB is not so crazy in this regard. They are more pragmatic. They want to save the euro project, but at the same time they know they cannot be too drastic, because otherwise there will be Germany will leave the euros. So in this regard, I think the euro is better. Might be better than the dollar, because it always counts who's really running the thing and the ideas that they have. And if you look what Bernanke has published academically, he's actually doing what he's preaching. I mean, what he wrote. He really thinks, he's convinced that he can solve anything by printing money.
Philip, we've spent a lot of time talking about unsound money. If we can just think about sound money now. Is there a way in which we can go from unsound money into sound money? By sound money, I really mean gold, which governments cannot print.
Well, there are several ways. One would be for the government to just take all the gold that are in the central banks and back all money titles with it 100%.
It'd just be an adjustment of price, in effect, to a level where it is backed 100%.
Yes. It would make obvious all the wealth destruction that has occurred before. This would be one way, and then the government could get out of money. The second way would be just we don't want to impose something like gold. We just take away all government interventions, like close the central bank, abolish legal tender laws, and look what would evolve on the market. And probably very fast gold would, because of its characteristic, be money again. However, these possibilities both imply that the government does the reform, and as you said, it's not in the interest of the government to do that, because they cannot print gold, and they want more power, they want to spend, they want to buy votes, and therefore taxes are very unpopular, but producing money and finance this is a much more elegant way for them to get away with it. The banking system, of course, would not be in favor of that, because their possibility to produce money out of thin air would go away. So the big elite of the countries would be against it. So the last option, sad option in some sense, also would be that it would be a reaction against the government, that people start using commodities or more gold privately, even though the government does not allow or even forbids it, because inflation starts to rise ever more. This would be a sign of a total collapse and more chaos. But this might be also more a long-run possibility that against the government people start using sound money.
It would be the crack-up boom, as I think von Mises described it.
Yes.
Philip, thank you very much indeed for taking the time to speak to me, and I found that extremely interesting, and I hope lots of people read your excellent book, which I certainly found very, very interesting. Thank you.
You're very welcome. I thank you.